Well, it's an honor to have our very first outlier. We are looking at about a dozen South Africans who are outliers who, in a degree, follow what Malcolm Gladwell wrote about in his book of Outliers, who've been super successful, but why? And I guess that's what we are interested in here at BizNews. Mteto Nyati, Buffalo.
Yes, Nyati is a buffalo and Mteto is justice,
Justice, buffalo. Well, you've really had in Afrikaans there was die spore is deep in what you've done in South Africa. But you're actually from the Eastern Cape. And I was fascinated to see that as a youngster you went to a Catholic mission school.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, if memory serves, there were quite a lot of famous South Africans from previous eras who also had this grounding. Is that an Eastern Cape thing?
Look, there was look at the Eastern Cape. The missionaries were quite strong in there, and both the Catholic, Anglican, and different types of missionaries, and they established themselves and helped those communities to embrace education. And that is something that has changed and has influenced the Eastern Cape for a very, very long time. So if you look at the many leaders that come from the Eastern Cape, you'll trace them back to that intervention that was done by people who came for different reasons, but certainly have shaped how the Eastern Cape is looking like today.
But it is extraordinary when we don't want to dwell too much on the apartheid and that, but there's a wonderful book that the Reverend Peter Story wrote. I think he was Methodist. And he tells about his youth, which was near Pretoria, where his father had a mission school, similar kind of thing.
Yes.
And the apartheid government closed it down because they didn't want black people to have education. And you think about the decades that we've lost as a nation, and yet there were these little pockets, which I guess shows us the potential.
It does. I remember I come from a clan. It's called the Fengu clan. It's a group of people who, in the 1800s, these black folks, they made a commitment. They took an oath to educate their children, and my family, from that time, they either became teachers or they became priests. One of those two, and that was the family thing. They went around the Eastern Cape, opening up schools, opening up churches, and helping people to embrace education and just enlightenment. And that's what my father did as well. And I think in his lifetime, he established probably 4 or 5 schools. That's the environment that I grew up in.
Wow. That's really, that's inspiring, that he had the foresight, or indeed one of your forefathers had the foresight that education is what really transforms us.
Exactly, that it is. And when I look at in my case, both my parents were teachers. That made a big difference too. We had a very large family of 10. All of us either have gone to university or have got a degree, and of course they did not have a lot of money, for them to be able to put all of us through school. But they made it clear that we know it is something that is a proud education.
And you ended up going to St. John's College.
Yes.
That magnificent school that is a dream for many people, but particularly from your background. How did you get in there?
Well,
I know it was only for 2 years, but how did that happen?
No, I got in. It's not the St. John's College that is here in
not Johannesburg.
In Johannesburg, no. It's St. John's College that is in Mteto. Yes, it was. It's almost just over 100 years old. That it's also established by Callaway, Reverend Callaway, who established that school, which has produced so many leaders in this country. I can name them. Of course, Thabo Mbeki is one of the people that went through that school. And during my time, many of us ended up acquiring this thing called International Science Week Olympiad. I won one of those, and I represented South Africa in the apartheid years.
That's why I thought it had to be this St. John's here in Johannesburg.
No. We were able to compete with the best in South Africa, and I was able to represent South Africa in the UK, coming from that school that was under-resourced.
It just shows you the potential really that exists here. And yet, from there, you decided that you wanted to become an engineer.
That's correct, and that's when I left South Africa, I told everybody. I remember the Daily Dispatch. they asked me, "What is it that you want to do?" I said, "I want to be a doctor." Of course, I knew I did not know much about other careers. So, but when I came back, I was clear. Being a medical doctor is the last thing that I want to do. I want to be a mechanical engineer, and I have not looked back.
Where did that come from?
It was the exposure that we were given, because that 2 weeks that you spend in the UK, you will get exposed to everything. It became just the technology space. I knew that I was in the right place, but within that, which particular area should I focus on? And explored many areas. I listened. I found that engineering, and in particular mechanical engineering, should be the thing for me.
So Afrox.
Yes.
Did you know the late Rick Hogbin from Afrox? Was he around at the time?
No, I remember who was our MD, Jube. Peter Jube, who was our MD at the time. And he was a visionary, because this guy is the one, it was, I think, 1982, way before 1994. He decided, no, man, we need to have diversity in this organization, and we need to start finding people that are different from the mainstream here, and let's go. And that's when they found me. Natal University, and that became a 9-year relationship with Afrox, where they sponsored me, and I was working with them during holidays. Very important, being exposed to the world of work much early, understand what is expected and what is not expected of a person that is working. That shaped me quite a lot. Those experiences, yeah.
Our job here at BizNews is to gather information for our community so that they can learn from it. And when I have a look at your background, what you've told us now, it is an unusual background. You were fortunate enough to be born to teachers,
yes,
who made education a high priority.
Yes.
But what about the youngster who's watching this now and saying, yes, I want to be like him.
Yes.
I want to rise to the heights that he has.
Yes.
But I'm a single mom. I have a single parent, or I don't go to such a St. John's school.
Look,
in Mteto.
my parents, they had 10 children, right? That's a lot.
It's a challenge.
So we were not by any means, rich, not at all. So one of the things that I set out to do when I went to St. John's College, or grade 10, I knew how my mother was struggling. In fact, she had to stop being a teacher, go and start up a trading shop to help us. And she's, by the way, she's the person that helped shift our whole family into a different level. That risk that she took there, right, to establish a store. But I could see how much she was struggling. And I made a decision that when I heard that there's a bursary there, I said, I need to get it, So what I'm saying here is that opportunities are there, and you have to want them. You have to go after them. And they decided to give, out of maybe about 120 students, they gave bursaries to only 20. I told myself, I want to be one of those 20. And of course, I got in, and throughout all of high school, they paid zero, nothing. What I'm saying here is this has got less to do with the fact that I come from a family where there's teachers, but it's being hungry for something, understanding where you can help, because here you can see that your parents have got, all of these responsibilities. You can help, and you can make by your choices, the choices that you make, they make us. We make choices, but at the end of the day, those choices make us.
Did you work really hard? Because your track record, MD of Microsoft South Africa, MD of MTN South Africa, and then, of course, Altron, which you're going to talk about in a moment, because that, to many people, would be a crowning achievement. But getting promoted, getting to those really big jobs, was it hard work? Was it inspiration? Was it education?
I think it is knowing yourself. You know what you are good at, you know the things that you are not good at. And that self-awareness is very, very important. For example, had I chosen to move the direction of being a medical doctor, I may have passed that, but I may not have excelled as being that, because that would not have been me. Following your heart, going to spaces where you are most passionate, things that talk to who you are. When you are doing those things, it does not come as work. It just comes as natural. For example, I'm a very good listener. So for me, when I'm leading people and I'm listening to them and getting their inputs, this is something that they need so much. All human beings want to be heard. And I'm giving them what they want, right? And take their input, integrate those input into the strategy, and then they can see how their inputs is turning up into creating an environment and then they start to give you discretionary effort, because now they can see that we're all working together. You are helping them, they are helping you, but you are playing to your strength. We're creating those platforms where you listen to people, because I listen, but other people, they may have other strengths. What are those? Use those, So that's what I do. I go deep into myself and make sure. I'm a morning person, for example. As a morning person.
What time do you get up?
I get up at 4:30.
4:30. Okay.
So 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm already doing certain. So I use that to be able to, when I get to work, when people get to work, I'm already way ahead around today and tomorrow, right? So it is that thing, Alec, connecting with who you are, and then in that space, you don't really work. It just you are not acting. You just purely being yourself.
5 a.m. club. You'll be amazed at how many people, successful people, are early risers. Well, I was amazed anyway. I discovered it. I read a book called The 5 a.m. Club once and decided to change my sleeping habits. And often now I get WhatsApps or messages from people at 5:15, 5:30, who are also the 5 a.m. club, you the 4:30 a.m. club, so it's even better. But Altron, now here's a story. People don't, they know you've been successful, but they don't actually understand how successful. When you joined Altron, the share price was 10 Rand. It had gone to 30 Rand within 3 years. Then you had the splitting of bytes. And if you add it all together, it was a six times return. That if shareholders, the day you walked in that door, if they put money behind you to when you departed. Now that's extraordinary. Were you lucky? Was it just the right time for you?
I think it's a combination of factors. First of all, Altron, it was not by mistake. It's some company that I looked at when I was at MTN. We were looking at buying Altron. So I spent a lot of time going under the covers to look at this organization. They were going through difficult times at the time, right? But I could see that they've got such great assets. This is a company that has got so much potential, So I did not go in there cold. I went in knowing fully well what is it that I need to do in order for us to realize the value. So that's one thing. I also happened to partner with VCP, which is the private equity firm that hired me there. And this, a combination of the two of us, working together, we were able to do amazing things there. I focus on creating the right culture and making sure that we dispose of the non-core asset and executing and rallying everybody around that. And that, even the family, they stood on the side. They just allowed, they gave me the space together with my leadership team, the space. That was absolutely critical.
That's the Fenters.
Yeah, the Fenters. They gave us the space.
Did you know Bill? Do you know him, Bill Fenter?
No, I did not know, but I knew Robbie.
Oh, okay.
It's the person that I had gone to see to say, hey, we want to buy his company, and we did due diligence. So I had connected with him. And he is someone who, in fact, had put me as part of his succession. He said, that should be the guy who takes over from me. I didn't know that. When they approached me, I realized that it was him that said, hey, this is the person who I believe should be running this company. You know? So you have an environment where you are trusted, you know, people trusting and supportive, and it was also amazing for the team, the employees as well, because it was largely an African or white organization.
Well, it was very close to the government before Robbie's time.
Yes.
Robbie is exceptional.
Yeah.
He's I'm sure you know, but many people watching this wouldn't, that he was in the top 10 tennis players in the world as a youngster, beating Ivan Lendl, etc., until he injured himself in his hand. And he told me that he wasn't quite as good, quite as good in thereafter.
Yes.
But a very driven, a very focused.
Very, very focused.
And how did you meet? You met him then when you were doing the due diligence.
I met him much earlier, when I was still at Microsoft. When I was appointed the MD of Microsoft, he was one of the two people who invited me. The other one was the CEO of Bidvest.
Brian Joffe.
Yeah. They invited me and say, hey, congratulations, blah, blah. And by the way, you know, if there is anything that you would like to help you, you know, here is our organization. Both of them, they gave me that kind of stuff. I mean, here are people, I don't know them. I've never met them, but they reach out, you know. Yeah, that's why even today, I always try and find a way of giving back to other people, because that gesture, you know that there are people are supportive of you, they're creating spaces for you to be able to be successful. So I met him then I met him when I went to see him say, look, we want to buy your company. Unfortunately, when we looked at it, it was so complex. And I found that the integration was going to create a problem for MTN. So I recommended that we should not continue with it. But I already got so much insight about what was going on in that business.
Is that your approach? You study, you do your homework?
Yes.
When you invest, for instance, how long would you spend before buying a particular share?
For me, insights, it's really about those insights, like understanding what is the driver of this thing. You know, it may look good now. Is this thing sustainable? What is it that's driving it? Or it's just hype? You know, that's the stuff that helped me. And I think my engineering background helps in the sense that I'm more of a problem solver. I try to get to the root of the thing. You know, it took me 3 months to get to what is really the core of the challenges that Altron was facing. You know, and we're able to quickly say, okay, let's drive this one Altron strategy. You know, the same thing with MTN. Quickly, you know, get to an environment, understand, okay, these are the things that are driving. These are the problem areas, and if you can just shift and move these things around, this will have massive impact. And guess what? We were able to fix MTN South Africa at the time, which was underperforming in a very, very short period of time. It's getting to the core of the problem. And that, to me, is at the engineering capability or competence.
But it might also be something a little deeper. I'm a person of faith, and you went to a school, a
Yeah.
Catholic school,
Yeah.
which presumably would have taught you
Yes.
faith of some sort.
Yes, yes, yes,
I think I never went to a Catholic school, but I
Yeah.
believe there were brothers there, and they would smack you if you did, and discipline,
Yeah,
etc.
that is and hard, and we're working in the fields, very very hard work, and no hot water. That thing, it connects you. It makes you to be resilient on the one hand, but on the other hand, it deepens your spirituality. You end up having a purpose. It was a mission for me going to Altron. It was a mission. It was much bigger than just a business, because we live in an environment where people are saying, hey, there's this white monopoly capital, this need to be destroyed. When we're sitting with an unemployment rate of just over 35%, we cannot afford to be destroying anything. We need all the companies that are out there. What we need to be doing is to, if need be, transform them and make them to be able to serve society. And that was the mission that I went there with, saying, we need to start working together across different races and demonstrate that working together we can achieve so much. And I'm glad that the employees of Altron from all sides were able to first embrace that message, and were able to help us to demonstrate to some of South Africa that these things are possible.
And they are, and we do see it in pockets, though,
Yeah.
not throughout. And then your next move, BSG,
Yes.
a company that wasn't really high profile for people outside of the tech area, but in the tech area, they're well known. They've been around 25 years.
Yes.
And you did a deal to buy 40% of them and to get pretty much involved. That's a big bet, especially after Altron, where the world's your oyster.
You look at all of this, and then you said, okay, in 8 years' time, I will be 65. Where do I want to be age of 65? I want to retire as a CEO, and then what? I'm starting to ask myself, what should I be doing then? Or should I be already working with something that will help me not even to be thinking about retiring then, and I can continue to be working and helping and guiding this entity up until when I don't have the energy.
Well, Warren Buffett's what, 95?
Yes,
So our retirement age at BizNews is 103. So there we go.
I think that's a good number. So that's the thing for me. When I look and say, okay, I can continue to be helping and fixing all of these companies for other people, or I can, whilst I still have the energy, why don't I build something that have got skin in the game in? And that will help me to not to retire going forward, but at the same time, it will be something that is in line with who I am, it's in line with my values. It will be able to help address some of the challenges that are facing this country. If you look at some of our problems in this country, I think it's our ability to execute. We are great with policy, we're great with strategy, but when it comes to execution, we are not so great. And this is a company that does that. It partners with other companies and help them to execute and implement their strategy so that it can become a reality, that strategy. It's addressing a big problem that's facing many of our companies and also government. If we want to be, as a country, to be globally competitive, it's not going to be about dreaming strategy and coming up with great strategies. It's going to be about implementing those strategies. So if we can help that little bit, help the South African companies to do that, I have no doubt, because we've got great ideas, we can be, a great nation, this country. So that's where it's connecting me with my larger purpose as well, this vehicle, BSG.
And to close off with your national service.
Yes.
So the president phones you. He says, come and talk to me. We've got a problem at Eskom. You are one of our top business people in South Africa. He also does his homework. What possessed you to go and jump into the fray at Eskom? Because I hear now Eskom is in dire, dire trouble, far worse trouble than what the public knows. And yet you're in there. So it makes me happy, and I'm sure makes many other people happy that that you've got an oar in the water there. But wow.
Why? So it was never an easy decision, that one, because, you know, when you leave, when I left Altron, I had my own plans. And here is now something that is inviting itself into my life. So you have to kind of step back and say, okay, will I be able to handle this? Does it have a space within what I have defined for myself? Or can I create space for it? And but the very fact that you have been asked, one is being asked, and something that is so important for our country, yes, it's such a risky thing because it may not work, but hey, man, you know, if you know that there's something that you can contribute and you're saying no, I don't know. I just felt I could not say that. I need to be part of a team that is working on making this thing work. I mean,
how much do you know yet about Eskom? It's a heck of a complex organization. You are fortunate in that you're coming with the right background of a mechanical engineer. But what do you feel about what you see there? Are we going to need international help to get Eskom right, or do we have the people here who can fix it?
Look, I don't want to have that discussion here because look, there are people who are, I would say, have been asked to be the spokespeople of Eskom. So I would say that let me allow them to do that piece of work and communicate to the country.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
Still, it's obviously not a slam dunk.
It is not an easy problem. But I was going to say that these are machines. Machines are things that are built by people. That's one thing we should know. And if things are not going well, it's the same people that can find a way of making those things to behave, you know. So if the key people that are concerned can line up, everything is possible, you know. Line up, I'm talking about all sorts of things that are required to get that environment to be in the right place. What I can say is that we are getting all of the support that we need. So we are very, very happy where we are. We understand the pressures that the country is facing, and the people there are doing their best to make sure that we get at some point out of this current situation that we are facing as a country.
Well, it is our number one priority. If you don't have electricity, you don't have a country, and you certainly don't have industry. And the sooner, the better.
Yes.
It's really been good talking with you, Mteto Nyati. Thank you for kicking off our series on Outliers. And I'm Alec Hogg from BizNews.com.